Hello, welcome to another interesting session on mediation. Today's session will be on the dispute between landlord and tenant. As we know, a lot of issues have emanated at this period. A lot of issues are really emanated at this period. Some tenants have actually, not knowing what next to do, have mistakenly, unintentionally killed their landlords. Some tenants, I beg your pardon, some landlords also being frustrated because of the investment they feel they should be in at that particular time have also committed murder or manslaughter, I beg your pardon, because it was done unintentionally. So at this very moment, it is key to discuss mediation as regards the dispute between tenants and landlord. I have had a lot of experience on this particular matter. I've done a lot of mediation on these issues between the landlord and the tenants. But be that as it may, I'll discuss that next week because this topic is going to span, or this session is spanning into 2 weeks. That's this week and the next. But for now, I'd like to discuss on the issues that could actually arise between landlord and tenants that will now make them, if they are willing to mediate, recourse to a mediator. You know, a landlord could, out of frustration, because he has already planned what to do with that rent at that particular time when the tenant is meant to meet up that obligation. So, for instance, you know, some tenants have used this period to make excuses for not meeting up that obligation. What will you actually do? What will the landlord actually do? You can't do, because when they had a lockdown, there was no movement for he or she to go out and look for money to pay that rent. So a landlord that wants to take any action will just be, you know, doing something that will not really make sense. So now that we're now in these times, and whether we like it or not, these COVID times are not really going to change drastically. We have to find a way to live, adapt to these COVID times and make the best use of it. And mediation will actually be the way will actually be something we should employ, or a tool we should employ to make sure that we, as much as possible, live beyond the level of stress of financial setbacks we may have if we go into the full haul of pursuing pursuing these disputes in court. To give an instance, you know, a landlord could just say, okay, move out of here because you're owing me a particular rent. They tend to say, okay, I'm not going to pay you this rent because you are meant to have done something you didn't do. You're meant to have fixed the sink when it was leaking, you didn't fix. And the landlord says, okay, move out. And assuming now, as I said, whether we like it or not, we're living in the present times of COVID. And the post-COVID effect is going to even be more intense, if not well managed. So how do you get around these things? If you decide to litigate, you're just going to litigate on the issue of breach of covenant by the tenant not to meet up his or her obligation. But do you know what? The mediator will actually go beyond that breach, because the mediator is going to find out that it's not only about moving out because you're owing the rent, and that's with respect to the tenant. It might just be that the landlord, for one reason or the other, has not, you know, you've not been very, very cordial, and he's now heaping his setbacks where you are on a breach of covenant of not being able to pay that rent. Don't get me wrong, paying that rent, you're meant to have paid that rent. But if both parties agree to mediate, you will actually find a way out where the tenant will pay that rent, the landlord will also meet up his responsibilities, and everything will work out well. The advantages, like we keep harping on this advantage of mediation, with particular reference to mediation in the issue as regards issues between the landlord and the tenant, it has to basically about speedy resolution of these disputes. Can you imagine a case going for paying or not paying of rent and it's taken to the courts? That's going to take a protracted legal tussle. It's going to be a protracted legal case. It's going to span for many years. But with mediation will ensure a speedy resolution of that matter once the parties are willing. Note my word, once the parties are willing, mediation will ensure a speedy disposition of that matter. Of course, it will be pocket friendly to both the landlord and the tenant. You're not going to spend so much money being in court. And of course, preserving of relationships, because you have to preserve a relationship to make sure that the interest, particularly for the landlord, is retained. And you know, what I normally advise most of my clients who are landlords is, do not know what the issue beforehand is about paying rent or not. The major interest is your property. If this person is tenant A does not meet up that responsibility, tenant B will do. So the best way for you to do is find a way to ease tenant A out at not much cost to you, even if there is a cost. But what you gain eventually will be more than what you lose presently. So find a way to ease tenant A out for tenant B to come in, and plus or minus curb the cost, or curb the loss you might have made by tenant A being there. If you curb the cost you might have made if tenant A had decided to go recourse to litigation, but you knowing that you have a major interest, finding a way for him to just ease out peacefully and at less cost to you through mediation. I always encourage the landlord to look at the interest, the economic interest, not about the tussle. Because if you get involved in the tussle of I own this property or you do not own this property, if you're not very careful, you're going to have a protracted legal case. Next week, we'll be talking about some of the issues. I don't want to, because I say this is a long talk. Next week, we'll be talking about the issues, the cases I've handled, I've resolved them, the enforcement of this settlement agreement. Even in court, you have what you call consent agreement. Before you start a case on some of these matters about tenancy issues, if you agree, you have a consent agreement where both parties meet, decide on what the terms both of them will intend to adhere to, and these things come to, and the tenancy comes to an end. So next week I'll be talking about the enforceability of the settlement agreement. I'll also be talking of the practical cases I've handled. This may enable you know that this topic is live, is a topical issue. That's why we're going to take it into next week, so that all of us can have a better grasp of what this topic is all about. But like I said now, basically, for today's lecture, today's session, the advantages is very key. If you litigate on some of these matters, the matter will just basically be on the breach of covenant. Knowing that it's not only the breach of covenant that might be the problem. That's where the mediator comes in. It might be, apart from the breach of covenant, there is something else not keen well with the landlord. And it's only a mediator, because mediation seeks to make you pour out your heart. And once your heart is poured out, issues are nipped at the bud for a peaceable tenancy relationship. Join me via my WhatsApp for more, my WhatsApp or my YouTube channel. Thank you for listening.